The mass rituals to the gods were almost always about fertility. Underlining the rituals to the feathered serpent would have been a sort of desperation and even maybe a panic that the rain would not come. These peoples were aware that previous civilizations had fallen due to drought, and there was a distinct fear that the same thing would happen to them.
But was there a terrible price to be paid for the help of the feathered serpent? Making a pact with the snake god was a high-risk game.
The feathered serpent was, after all, a rattlesnake, and there's danger there.
The snake is what struck fear in them, because the snake has the venom, and it always has that warning rattle to tell you you're getting too close.
Snakes are absolutely terrifying, and not just because of the way they move, but it's a creature that is a very long tube, and there's a mouth at one end, and it exists solely to consume and digest. So in that sense, they represent hunger at its purest.
Why did the people of Teotihuacan dare to make a pact with a beast they knew was a killer? A clue may lie over 11,000 kilometers away in Europe, home to another deadly snake monster. The Greeks believed a monstrous creature called Medusa lived on a remote rocky island. Inside her lair stood hundreds of warriors, frozen in time. They came as hunters, but quickly turned into prey. Their killer was Medusa, a vicious mythological beast, part human, part serpent. Her hair was a writhing tangle of venomous snakes, but her face was stunningly beautiful. And with just one look, she could turn anyone into stone.
Medusa is one of the more memorable mythological creatures in our imagination. You can find her in films like The Clash of the Titans.
Turning someone to stone with your eyes is a really unusual power, a very literal and vivid representation of being paralyzed with fear.
Medusa's deadly appeal began more than 2,500 years ago, when the ancient Greeks conceived her. But archaeologist Dr. Julia Jonu Herbst investigates why the Romans also embraced her venomous power.
This terracotta plaque that you see here, that probably dates from the end of the 6th century and into the 5th century BC. And it has the whole image of Medusa, not the head, and her body. And it's quite interesting that she's holding this staff in her hands that has snake heads on either end. It's not very easy to see the mouth because it's broken, but you can actually see her gaze and the way the eyes are portrayed. We don't know exactly what this plaque was used for, but because it has the holes on the 4 sides, it was probably hung on something, probably as decoration to ward off evil.
Over time, the Romans focused on just one aspect of this serpentine monster.
So a number of the silver coins that you see here show just the head of Medusa with the snakes and all. It's a very ugly head. It was a powerful image in ancient people's imagination. It had, for hair, living venomous snakes. Her mouth is wide open, portrayed in a roar. And she's terrifying for that as well. This is a terracotta mold, and there's a number of thumbprints here, so it was pressed into a metal original in order to produce the mold, and from the mold, you would make replicas of it that have a Medusa portrayed on them. This was found in a Roman form, so it was probably used in the 1st century AD, but it is from an original that dates to the 4th century BC. You can see, in particular, on the scales of the snakes, and you can see the snakes encircling the head and up here bound in a knot. the gaze, actually, they are also is quite straight and powerful in this one, because you can see the incision of the eyes, this piercing gaze that Medusa had.
Julia believes clues to why the Romans only honored her head lie in the legend. In the myth of Medusa, a young hero named Perseus vows to slay the beast. The gods give him powerful weapons, winged sandals that would let him fly, a razor-sharp sword, a polished shield, and a helmet to make him invisible. Perseus sneaks up on Medusa undetected. Watching her reflection in his polished shield, he avoids her evil gaze and cuts off her head. But even in death, Medusa's stare retains its magic, giving Perseus the power to conquer his enemies.
The head is the most powerful image because the head then has the power to turn people into stone even after it's beheaded.
Incredibly, these Roman coins date to the same time as Teotihuacan. Why did two powerful civilizations on opposite sides of the world adopt snake monsters? Julia thinks that both cultures believed the benefits were worth the deadly risks.
Medusa's head became a symbol of protection. Emperors use it on their armor. Women, even in the 10th century AD, are wearing it to avert all diseases. And it saves the person wearing it.
What's so interesting to me is that the very logo that you can find on Versace garments is Medusa's head. Many modern people may not be aware of the symbolism.
There is an element of duality in the Medusa myth. So she is both very dangerous and tremendously protective. Even though she's quite frightening, and to look at her will turn you to stone, if you are behind the image rather than in front of it, you get security. And this is a duality we see in snakes as well.
The people of Teotihuacan also believed they could harness the power of their monster, the Feathered Serpent.